time to get this going.
So, Bill, welcome to the live. Ron, welcome to the
Yeah.
live.
Thanks for
For
having me.
anybody that's out there doesn't know these guys, this is Bill and Ron from Bomad Outdoors. We're huge fans. Lucky to have them on the live to talk about some stuff. We love the camaraderie, and looking forward to some collaboration in the future.
How's the audio? Can you guys hear me okay?
Your audio is coming in fantastic.
If it cuts out, I have earpiece I can put into.
You have some birds in the background.
Awesome. Birds and squirrels.
Anyway, what's up?
Barking.
What's up, Ron? What are you up to?
Being miserable today.
Why?
Satan's riding our back, man. We tried to get some fishing in. Just wasn't having it. No, you name it happened. Hooked to the mouth and in the trees, and no fish didn't want to bite. And when they did, they just let go. What's that?
Alfred has a crystal ball. He told me that he just looks into this, and today was not a good day to go fishing, so we didn't go.
How it goes.
It was
The
a long
magic
day.
crystal ball.
I think we fished for about 6 hours. We caught a few.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, you know how they say it, a bad day of fishing is, better than anything else, I suppose.
Yeah, better than hanging out with your wife and kid.
I had one, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what's on the chopping block for discussion tonight? I know you talked about maybe we talked Joro spiders, invasive species, maybe flathead catfish.
Well, so since we're doing a bit of a collab here, right? Let's let them go first. Why don't I mean we haven't even talked like channel names or anything like that. So introduce yourselves, talk a little bit, and then we'll kind of do the same, and then we'll go from there, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to grab my earpiece. We'll let Ron start it out.
He always leaves me hanging. Well, Ron, Ringer Ron, and if you look me up on Instagram, with Bomad here. Not much else to say. I'm probably more the second part of the name than the first. But we're out here trying to have some fun, build some entertainment, show what we love to do, you know what I mean? And hopefully get lucky and get some of them big ones that everybody likes to see or whatever, if it's fish or deer or turkey or, and show people what it's about. We're just two average Joes trying to get her done.
Yeah, if we're not having fun, we're not doing something right. That's what it's all about. If it turns into work, then it's too much, and what's the point of doing it? So we have fun doing it.
Speaking of big ones, both of you guys have reeled in some monsters this year. You guys want to tell us about that?
I'll tell you what, man. Me and Bill here, we only started doing outdoorsy stuff, but I guess we'll call this our second year. And I mean, it's trying like anybody else, but with our efforts come some awesome rewards. And we can get the hunting thing later, but as far as the fishing thing, like this year, yeah, it's been great. Like we didn't realize he never did a whole lot of trout fishing, and I'm pretty much nothing but a trout fisherman. I mean, I'll take all the other stuff. I like go for salmon and steelies, it's all salmonoid fishes. But we decided this year to just try our hand on our local streams and, cohorse back and forth, a little bit of tactics, and went to a common spot. And lo and behold, yeah, there's some big ones got stocked in there, and we ran into them. I got myself it's still about 22 inches, and then this guy goes and beats me by a little bit. I don't want to steal off of his story, but
oh yeah, he got a lunker, and about a week later, we walked down to the creek, and he stopped, and he was changing from power bait over to a rooster tail. And while he was doing that, I jumped up to the next hole. First cast with a rooster tail, bang, and reeled her in. And I don't know if anybody saw that video yet of both of us carrying on a little bit, getting a little, I don't know.
Yeah, we
excited.
definitely go a little overzealous when it comes to that stuff. Here's a couple of middle-aged guys. You think we just keep our composure and things are just no. We're like two little kids. We score candy and have 50 cents in our pockets.
Yeah, but we're feeling it. It's catching up.
I think what makes it more
Well,
exciting.
that's good.
And I've caught big fish. I'm sure he's caught big fish. We've told stories, but doing this adventure together I think it kind of makes it exciting. It's kind of like I see two grumpy old guys in the bush, and any success we have is two grumpy old guys. It's just one heck of a good day.
We started this channel just a little over a year ago, and originally it was supposed to be everything bows and shooting bows and 3D archery, and it just wasn't working out. It was real slow, and it just got real monotonous. So that's when the first year hunting cam, it was the first year recording videos. We decided to really dig in deep with that, and that went well. I mean, we didn't get a whole lot of deer this past year, but Ron actually got a nice young buck. I got a young buck, and it was going really well. And we were actually starting to run out of content here at the end of deer season and late deer season, and I haven't fished in probably 15 years. So I decided, well, I'm gonna go do a little trout fishing, see what it's like, see how it feels. And I knew I was gonna get addicted first time out. I didn't realize how great the fishing was gonna be.
Wait till we
though.
get him into fly fishing.
So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's super impressive about it is you guys have had a fantastic year, and then coming off of not fishing for 15, 20 years, and just the year you've had. I mean, some people fish a lifetime to catch one trout, like either one of you caught. That's what's crazy about it.
Well, see, I said
Well,
that.
you also
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
you brought up a really good point where you guys kind of struggled with content there towards the end of hunting season. But look, you've got an outdoor channel, and I think everybody goes through that lull. Like there's a specific time frame where your viewers want to see the hunting content. January, February, that kind of dies off after hunting season. And if you're gonna run a YouTube channel and you're gonna continue to put out content, you've got to find a way to still kind of communicate with those guys that are subscribing to your channel and
Right, you gotta
provide them with some sort of you've got to keep going. You've just got to find a way. That's the pain train way. Just keep fighting through the hard stuff. Figure something out. Find something to post.
Coming for him yet. Oh, you can really
Let's get this in your ear.
I can hear everybody better.
They're a pain to put in a little bit.
Yeah.
We're down at my ponds and the frogs are going crazy, and that's all we hear.
We can hear them. It's cool. I like it. A little ambience going on. I like it.
You still have
okay?
problems with the birds. Yeah, your audio's great.
All right, good.
You still having problems with the herons coming in there and taking all the fish?
Yeah. All I have left are
Nothing
baby
changes.
koi.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm saying it's awesome, but it's not.
No, not when you're paying a whole bunch of money for some pretty fish and you come out the next morning and you realize they're not buried under the mud. They're just not there.
Yep.
It's different if you're going to eat them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, we got you.
Yep. So how are you guys? I appreciate you guys having us on here, man. This is fun.
Absolutely.
So
No,
how's your
absolutely.
fishing season been going? I heard you guys just did a
Alfred
tournament.
Alfred could catch fish out of a coffee cup that's got an inch of water in it. Like he can catch fish out of a mud puddle. That's just the way he is. Everywhere he goes, he ties a fly on a fly rod, slings it out into a puddle, and 3 fish come over and hammer it. I don't know.
I thought
I
I was
don't know
that
about
guy
all
till this
that,
guy
but-
came along this year. He's killing me this year. He's making me look like an amateur. I don't know what.
Well, let's talk carp tournament, right? Everybody was kind of we wanted to try to get into that last week. We had some technical issues, and we did not get a live up for the carp tournament. Frustrated. Start us off there, Al. What do you think?
I think managing expectations is a pretty realistic baseline. Going into this tournament, we knew it was going to be rough, right? These guys who do this tournament and these other carp tournaments in the area, they do it every year. Okay, they have these spots picked out. They know where they're going to go and catch 30 to 40 pound fish, right? And so going up against that, we're not carp fishermen. This is our second time ever fishing for carp. I've done it a couple times in the past, but on local ponds. It's not like fishing big water. It's not going after bigger fish. It's a whole adventure. So going into it, Tony and I discussed it, like, hey, like we're going to go out, we're going to grind away, because that's what we do here at Pain Train. We do a great job of that. we'll run 48 hours straight and just push each other to the very brink of
Yeah,
exhaustion,
buddy.
you know?
If you're gonna
And
do it right, do it right.
so, you know, I mean, we just grind away, and whether it's deer hunting or fishing or whatever it is, that's what we do. So, I mean, if you want to get into the actual what actually happened,
Well, yeah, we, you know, first thing I'm thinking is we got to get on the phone. We got to find a place that we can go. We've got to, you know, get a little intel. So, you know, I've got a brother that lives out a little further west, and you know, he was nice enough to let us come down, jump on the boat, and do our thing. And you know, I think Alfred was kind of nervous about that plan because it's, you know, it would be like going deer hunting in the third or fourth day of November without some kind of good plan, right? And
Right.
you know, there again, that decision's on me. I'm like, hey, look, this sounds like a good idea. Let's try it out. Let's see if it works. And you know, we threw that, you know, we threw all the caution to the wind and we just ran with it. So we headed out to Racetown Lake. It's like a 2-hour drive from here. But before we did that, we had to go up to Williamsport and register. That's about a 2-hour drive. So basically, we're doing a giant triangle across the state just to get this all done. I had to work. You know,
I had to
Alfred's
work. We did
working.
this after work.
So I took some leave from work. We left a couple hours early, and we got to registration just about 20 minutes after we could start and register. Not a whole lot of guys hanging out, and then we turned and burned, man. We jumped on the road. We headed out there, and you know, from the get go, we could see a lot of fish swimming around in some of the shallow water, and we got after it. And I think it was probably right around dark when Alfred hooked up with the first fish, and we're like, look, this could be our tournament, you know, like, and we were super, like, had a lot of high hopes for it, just really pumped about it. And the first fish he landed was probably 14 or 15 pounds. It was a really good fish. I mean, we've got some
Nice.
shorts up of it. He's holding that thing, and it's a carp, but it's not. You know, we need 5 fish that are 4 or 5 pounds, 6 pounds heavier than that, just to kind of, you know, like to get
I
into
was
the
just
money.
gonna ask you if they did like a by single fish or if there was they did like a basket limit, like a 5 fish kind of weight limit thing.
So we had a 5 fish limit, and
Right.
you know, like first place is, I think first place took 100, what was it, 129 pounds, something like that.
129 between 5 carp.
But the crazy
Woo.
thing is, yeah, the crazy thing is that the biggest carp, the Lunker Award, only went to like 129 and a half pound fish. Now I don't, you know,
No, 30. You said 129.
or
30,
no,
it was like 30.
a 29.5 pound fish or something like that.
Oh man, you have
It
a
was
heart
like
joke. I didn't
32.
know. I was like 129-pound carp. Woo!
Yeah,
Nah, it was. I think it was like a 32-pound carp is what they ended up bringing.
That's big.
But what it shows you is that consistency over just having one monster is really what wins that
Yeah.
tournament. I'm not saying catching a 45-pound carp is going
Right.
to help you win, but these guys knew exactly where to go to hammer down on these
and
high
catch
20.
5, 26, 27 pounders.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
Yeah, I never.
And this is like a, you know, this is a new thing for me too, because I don't know too much about carp, but like right now, a lot of the males are trying to, you know, they're trying to chase the ladies around and breed. So what's happening now? You can be in a spot that's got a lot of big fish, but they're just not interested. They have no interest at all in feeding because they're doing their runs, doing their annual
Like
breeding
today.
thing, and
What was
yeah, it makes it hard.
what was the situation when you guys got up there, like with all the carp? I saw a recent video you guys did where
Yeah, I wanted to ask that too. You stuck your thumb in there or something like that. Were they in a pen or is that them coming in to
No,
breed
there's
or
look,
what?
anywhere you go up there around the boat docks and stuff, there's a lot of people that just go there and feed them, right? So any place that that you're in and around those docks, you can't fish it. So there's I don't know what kind of pellets they are, but they're like trout pellets, right? They're the granular pellets or whatever,
Yep.
and you
I
can
got
buy
you.
the
All right.
pellets there in one of the shop and throw it out there. So there's a lot of fish in there, but
So it's
again,
just
they're
a
not.
gaggle congregation of freaking fish right there.
It would be like going to Hershey Park and, you know, throwing a loaf of bread off the bridge and watching, you know, 75 to 100 carp just hammer that bread. But those aren't the fish that are going to win you a tournament. You know, they're 9, 10, 11, 12 pound fish. I mean, you'd have 50 pounds of fish. But after Alfred hooked up with that one, I was able to see one kind of cruising, right? And I slung a bait ball out there, and it just come up out of the water and just hammered this thing as soon as it hit the water. and I ended up fighting this fish for like 42 minutes. I had my, I love that cherry wood 5-foot rod that I have from Berkeley, and I have a
Oh,
1000 series reel on that.
the one you don't
The
have
one I use for
anymore.
trout fishing. No, I have it. I have
Oh,
it.
okay.
That was
Oh,
his other
broken.
pond that went. Now his other pond went into the lake after a carp.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story, I guess.
But anyway, I've got 2-pound test on that reel, and I fought that fish for probably it's over 40 minutes, something over 40 minutes. It was ridiculous. And
See, I was
by the
trying to
time I was
explain
done
that to
fighting it,
Bill. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was trying to explain that to Bill about like with this trout fishing stuff and where we fish, we're running into a lot of like pickerel, some larger smallmouth bass. I mean, and we obviously there's still, I think we counted today, we got another 5 or 6 big trout. And we're only running 4-pound tests. And he's kind of sometimes worried about running too light. And I'm like, look, the tensile strength on a 4-pound test is actually a lot more than you think. You just got to play it right, play your drag. So
yeah, you got to set your drag up.
You're
and
catching
ready.
some big fish on some really light tackle. That has to be an awesome fight.
Well, that was an 18-pound fish. That was the biggest one we caught, and it when you hold them up next to each other. I think there's a picture on the Facebook page. I think there's a picture on one of the shorts that we have where both fish, like one of his big ones and then the 18. There's a noticeable difference on how much bigger that fish is. 3 pounds on a carp that's that big is just a big difference. Like, it's huge. But to fight that on 2-pound tests is ridiculous.
Heck yeah, I didn't realize. I would have assumed you guys were out there with 10, 18, 20-pound tests, something like that. Especially, I know you guys were kind of trolling there. That was a funny video, by the way. I lost your lure.
Well, we do have some rods set up, right? I've got some big beach rods. I've got some other, like heavy rods. But we had just got to a spot, and that's the only rod I had in my hand. I was like, man, I'm putting a bait ball on there and I'm tossing it out there, and I hooked up. So that was the situation, because nothing else was rigged. Like, I didn't have hooks on anything, and we could talk setup, but I don't think we need to get into that. I mean, you're talking about hairs and, different size hooks and all of the things that go into carp fishing. But, it is, it's a little bit different than the trout fishing we're doing. It's a lot different, but,
Absolutely.
there's a learning curve there. And there's a couple times where I went to set the hook on a really nice fish, and I would just have my bait ball packed a little bit too tight, and I would just pop it out of their lip because the hook wasn't big enough. And then Al's over there using a hook that I thought was too big, and I'm like, man, he's just reeling in left and right.
I know that feeling when I said about when we started this today. This is kind of what the devil was biting us. We had one. He sight fished for me. I got down at the creek level. I really couldn't see it, but he put the glasses on, and from above, he could see where this big trout was. I'd say at least a good 18 inches, 19 inches. Had some good shoulders on him, and he did a good job of telling me where to cast. And I threw one in there, and he's like, "It's coming, it's coming, it's coming." And that quick, I felt that rod go down. And right when I was about ready to give him the old good set, Bill's like, "Oh," he just let it go, and the bait was still sitting there.
I watched him swallow it and run with it and then just spit it out right before he set it.
I was on a Palomino today. I was on about an 18-inch Palomino. I watched that guy come around. I'm not even joking. This guy came around and hit my bait with his tail, knocked my bait off the hook, and then he swam away. He kept circling and circling and circling. He just went whap, knocked my bait off, and then he went away. I'm like, this guy's got to be the smartest Palomino I've ever seen in my life. So I know the frustrations. I really do.
We've all seen that Palomino.
Oh yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. He's in the same darn hole.
Well, you
Hey,
guys bring
is
up.
Danielle still on?
What's that?
She might be.
We gotta say hello to Danielle if she's still on.
Shout out to the
Oh,
wife
is she
unit
on?
if she's still on.
Yeah,
I
heck
do see
yeah.
Daniel. Okay, I see Shibe. What's up, Shibe?
So you guys bring up a really great point when it comes to fishing. There's been several times where Tony and I communicate very well out in the stream, and we're calling stuff out for each other because standing, 3 feet up or down the stream from where the person is fishing, you can see a lot more in that water than they can sometimes, just depending on the player.
Absolutely.
And being able to work as a team like that, and not fighting over some of these big fish and just letting your buddy get a fair crack at them and trying to help them it's a game changer.
we have our greedy moments, but for the most part, we are very team oriented. If anything, I'm probably the more greedy one, honestly. Uh, and I can let him explain because he's sitting here all quiet. But
We work together well most of the time, but when we get in it and we're bickering, it just really takes off. Sometimes it escalates more than it should, but hey, I mean,
Well,
it comes with the
that's
territory,
you know what.
when you got good buddies fishing together
a lot
all
of
the time.
passion.
And
I think it's more passion, not to excuse any attitude, but I think we're both so passionate and into it. It just yeah.
I'm
Sometimes you
telling
gotta
you what,
kick
man.
back.
sometimes you just flat out get sick of the other person and you need a
I'm
break,
listening.
you
I'm
know?
About
listening, brother.
about the 2nd or 3rd of November, we do this YouTube thing. I'm gonna disappear on Alfred. Like we're gonna be like two peas in a pod all through the early season,
Oh, yeah.
all through that October lull. October lull where
Are you
everybody doesn't
taking your
see any
good buddy
deer.
Ron
Alfred and
out
I
with
are.
you, Tony?
He can hear us. He can hear us.
No, I'm taking Bill. Then about
Oh, you're
about the
taking
3rd
Billy.
of November, I'm going on a hiatus. I'm gonna disappear for about 9 days, and I'm gonna come out of the woods. Like somebody will get a text at like I don't know 7 minutes after 5 one time, and they'll be like, "Yo, listen, big buck down, where you at? Get over here." And we call the crew in. That's how it happens.
Oh, then they want to call me and Alan, but what they don't realize, me and Alan gutting our 12-pointer.
No, we'll see. This year is going to be pretty interesting, though. Guarantee it.
Oh,
It'll
absolutely.
be
I
a
think
good
I
year.
think this year's it's already starting out good. It sounds like you guys are having a good start to a good year. So, man, if the hunting season's anything like our fishing season, PA's in for a hurting. Wait,
Fix the headset.
yeah,
There we
we
go.
lost your
We're
audio
good.
there for a second. Backtrack about a minute, guys.
We're good.
You got it
Can
now.
you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you now, but like the last 30 seconds, we saw you moving, but nothing.
No, you're good.
Wait, I think we lost you again.
No,
No,
we should be able to hear. Can you hear us?
Yep, now we can. Yep.
Alrighty. So yeah, Tony does this cool little thing where come November, he just disappears. And trying to run the YouTube is pretty difficult. Trying to get stuff on film is extra difficult. And a lot of times, at least with us, like we're super competitive, right? We push each other to the breaking point. And sometimes you just want to get it done yourself. You don't want that extra person coming in with you because it's one extra scent, it's extra movement, it's extra profile
Up in the tree, and that's one of the things that if we're going to do it together, we got to work on that a little bit. And I get the same way. I wouldn't say quite as bad, but I had a really easy season last year. I mean, I had a fantastic season. It was simple, so there was no pressure on me at all. So maybe this year I'm the one who cracks. He goes out, shoots a 140 on the first day of the season, and then I'm the one like struggling all year.
Yeah, I know that feeling too. This guy, he was on a bunch of them last year, and even though we hunt together, he still has his spots out of my spots. So obviously, and we let each other hunt in each other's spots. But I laid back. The year before I got a decent buck, and he wasn't so fortunate. So my goal was to make sure he nailed a buck, and he was on him. He really was. But man, just fate really circled around him. I guess that's the best way I could put it. There was one day he was messaging me like 8 buck walked by him. I'm at a gun raffle, and he's like, "Oh, buck walks by me. All right, 3 more walking by me. All right, another one." I'm like, "Boy, if I was ever wanted to be out in the woods with you, today was the day." And I'm sure he could have used the help too, with the camera, because had he not had to focus so much on the camera or whatever, he might have actually been able to seal the deal on him. He might have been a little more prepared. So, yeah, like you're saying, some
But
days it pays, some days it don't. It's a give or take.
It was a lot of fun, but there's a lot of stuff that I didn't get on camera that I wish I had.
there's
He
there's
had
a
a good
knack to
season.
getting the self film stuff down. Like deer hunting is a different animal when it comes to self filming, right? And that's one of the things that Alfred and I are we're challenging ourselves this year to get outside of the realm of just a self film hunt because I like that's something I hold that kind of near and dear. And I have a bunch of kill shots over the last I don't know what 4 years, 3 years, something. I probably have 8 or 9 kill shots. All does. I haven't gotten any of the bucks on a kill shot, but I primarily use a phone. I use a lightweight setup. I use a one stick saddle setup. So I'm going a lot of times for the bucks, I'm going, 2, 3 miles in, and I'm not taking a bunch of extra cameras. I'm certainly not carrying, a DSLR camera with a big lens on it to film. So if it happens at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, great, I'll get it on film. But the vast majority of them, like I can probably count on my 10 fingers how many times I've seen a shooter buck in daylight in Pennsylvania that's outside of that 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after shooting light in the morning. So
That's where
the idea
I'll
of getting
argue
that,
with you there. That's one time I'll argue, and there's probably a lot of people got. I mean, heck, I might even get some slack for this, but I don't care, and you can argue. I've been hunting for 30 years. I'm not saying I'm the best hunter. I'm not. I'm your average Joe hunter. I've got your average Joe bucks. I don't think I've shot anything over 120. Okay, I've seen them. I've been on them. It's most of my hunts were unfortunately because of work. I'd get 1 day. I'd get 1 day of archery, 1 day of rifle, and that was my season. I had to find a buck in 1 day, and I would do it. Doesn't mean I would get them. And most of mine that I've seen, what I call shooters, and a shooter to me is anything I'll say over 110, 120 in Pennsylvania on public land. And most of mine I've seen between 9 and 10 a.m. Almost every one
well,
of them.
there are those exceptions. Like I said, there's probably 10 bucks that I can think of that would daylight. I did put a buddy of mine on a really, like a 135, 140-inch deer,
Which is a
because I
good
had already
average
shot a
deer in
deer.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
A
That's
good average. That's a
fantastic.
Well, I
lifetime
mean
deer in
that. Yeah, I
Pennsylvania.
mean not average,
mean,
but I
that's
mean if you're gonna go for
yeah.
a good big deer in Pennsylvania, a lot of people
Um,
here feel like, oh, it's not a 170 or 180. We don't get a whole lot of them in Pennsylvania. So
But the
a
time
130 or
frame, the
140
time
is a
frame that
really
this
good
stuff
deer.
happens, the time frame that this happens is it's a very small window. It's like, and a lot of people think, oh man, it's like 28 October through, like 7, 9, 8, 9 November. No, it's not. That window in Pennsylvania, believe it or not, my experience, I have years of trail camera data that tell me that those bucks don't start daylighting until after that really good lockdown phase. More like the 9th through the 17th of November in Pennsylvania, 9th through the 16th,
Yeah,
or the 8th
I'll
through
go
the
with that.
15th or something. And
I'll go
when
with
they
that.
do, they
I call
do.
that when
But
they
what
get
I want you to
snowy.
remember, Ron, when we talk about this stuff, let's also consider some of the other constraints that we used to hunt in. Up until about 4 years ago, you could never hunt those days in Pennsylvania with a bow. Those days they weren't even part of the season up until like 4 or 5 years. I don't know what year it was. I'd have to go back and look, but
I agree.
it hasn't been until recently where you can actually hunt them. Maybe it was 2018 or 17 or something like that where they actually extended the season. It might have been a year or two before that, but 5, 6 years. So the vast majority of my hunting experience lies prior to that time frame where you could actually hunt a deer when it was ready to move. Now,
Right.
when I say shooter, I'm talking, like 120 plus,
Sure. Yeah.
130 plus, because I'm going to pass on every
Unfortunately, I'm at
110
that
inch
point
deer.
with you, and this guy, he's the same way. He's doesn't like to shoot small buck. When he looks at a buck, he wants the same thing, like you said, 120, 130. That's our
But
good big buck here in Pennsylvania. Anything bigger than that, obviously.
but I'm legit passing every 110-inch deer in October. There's just I'm not doing it.
Too early.
It's
Yeah,
hard for me.
for me.
It's
I
so
mean,
hard for me. It really is. I like getting them.
I think Al, if he's out there, now if we're hunting with the recurves, yeah, I think we'll smoke a 110.
It'd be hard to pass that with the recurve. I mean, honestly, any deer I get a shot at with the recurve is going to be game on because it's just such a primitive
I
way of
agree,
hunting.
son.
And there's something so satisfying. Even if it was a 6 point, I'd have a rough time passing it. And I don't have the same hunting experience you do. I'm a relative newbie, and
See,
is
I
what it
do. I'm
is.
more of a meat hunter myself, but since I mean, and I think we can all agree, what was it, way back with Gary Alt, it did the whole antler restriction thing or whatever, and boy did I guff about it. Man, I was like, oh, how's anybody's gonna? It's never gonna happen. We'll never eat. I'm really glad. Yeah, we were all shooting that every year. That's what was going on table fare right there. And now look at
80,
what it is.
85% of deer prior to the antler restrictions were 1-year-old deer, 1.5-year-old bucks.
Yep.
This right here.
Yep. Hey, I'll tell you what.
Now this is out
Last
there
year,
running around.
if anybody out there wants to shoot a spike buck, any of you elders or you young lads, you come see me. I found them all last year. I know every one of them is. And they just walk right into me. Now, if that has antlers, you got to talk to this guy. But if you want someone with a spike, I'm your dude. Oh yeah, I found them all last year.
I'll
It's a good
take
thing
you up on
we
that
can't
about
hammer them no more because the
January
last one would have
timeframe in
gone in out
Maryland.
of frustration.
That's gonna be me, I think. That those 4 points that I passed on down to Maryland, they're gonna be getting the smoke. I'm gonna have to crossbow out by that point. I don't have a buck.
Well, let me.
Not the crossbow. Come on.
I don't know how we got off the fishing
his,
topic, but
I was gonna have
Go
to
ahead,
give all
Bill.
his meat away this year because his freezer's still full from last year.
That's what he says.
full of what?
Full of deer meat.
You don't need enough.
Oh.
Yeah, we got a couple in there.
Well, anyway, what I want to do is I kind of want to switch gears here. I mean, we kind of got off fishing. We're talking about
Hey,
the
too
deer
soon,
hunting,
guys.
but what about the opportunity to hunt Maryland? Like, are you guys? Is that something you guys are interested in? What about other? Because you guys primarily hunt the same, maybe 2, 3, 4 places. Alfred and
Well,
I
I wouldn't
we're
say
all
2,
over
3,
the place.
4 places. In our local area, between Bill and I, we probably got anywhere from 30 to 40 different stand locations. But
Yeah, but we're talking stand locations for, like, when I say an area, if I'm saying, like a state game lands or a state forest.
yeah, we
or
pretty
something.
much
You
hunt
guys
the
are kinda-
same. Yeah, we're pretty much within a locked in, say, a couple miles.
I think it's like
I mean, Alfred and I were hunting 30 or
Yeah.
40 different states,
no, we're in
I don't
one
know about
state.
all
It's
that.
about
come
200. This public land here is like 200 square miles, so it's a lot of public land, and it's only a 5-minute drive from home. So
Well, that's one of the nice things about Pennsylvania.
Can you
is they
pin that
have
and send it to
Absolutely.
me on Onyx?
sure, I'll share. There's plenty of spots down there.
As far as
Well, that's one of
Maryland,
the things. Go ahead, Ron.
as far as Maryland, I mean, you guys had said about it earlier. I've never, man, I'm well traveled. I've been all over the country fishing wise. Okay, we can get back on that later. I fish some awesome rivers, but as far as the hunting thing, I've never hunted out of state. For as much as I've been out of state, I never hunted out of state. And I've always wanted to. I didn't care if it was New Jersey or Maryland. It didn't have to be a big buck state or whatever. I just wanted to fish somewhere other than home. And so for me, I'm excited. I'd love the opportunity to get out with you guys. And even if I just get myself a freezer queen for some sausage or something, man, it'd be just, to me, it'd be just as good as going out and shooting a 180. It really would. So I'm excited.
You'll get a freezer queen down there.
Probably get a couple.
Hey, one to
It's a
be
good time.
suffice.
There's a lot of really good deer there. And their season opens a little earlier, so you can work the kinks out and your setups and everything prior to coming back. Like we kind of think of Pennsylvania as like the majors, right? Because like we're chasing some of these mature bucks. We're chasing these big deer. We are working our butts off for a lot of these deer. Maryland's like a great time. It's like the minor leagues. You go in, hit some home runs first, like get warmed up. And I'm not saying it's not difficult, but it's not a ton of hiking. Most of the stuff,
Perception, right? Like it comes down to perception.
yeah.
I was super excited.
It's,
I was super excited when I realized that deer season opener for archery is like September 9th.
yeah, it's earlier.
So
I don't know
that
what the
means-
day is this year, but yeah.
Oh wow! I thought it was even
That
later.
means
Wow.
velvet buck, man. That got me really intrigued.
Okay, yeah.
I got a week or two.
I had a fantastic opportunity on a velvet buck 2 years ago, and Alfred dropped his bow out of the tree and spooked him off.
I don't think that's actually what happened.
Let's do that. Let's hear that.
So I dropped.
So let's tell the story. Go ahead.
I dropped my bow out of the tree while we were still going up, and I was pulling it up. It got tangled up in some limbs, and then I watched my brand new Matthews fall 25 feet to the ground. That was cool. But anyway, so we're sitting in our trees, doing our thing. We got this buck at 33 yards initially coming in. You needed him to take a couple more steps, and out of nowhere, all these deer just spook and disappear. Well, long story short, we're down there the next week, going out to not the exact same spot.
We
but
left and went
close.
over there that night, and that guy said he shot one in there.
I don't think that was that night.
Yeah,
it was the next week we saw.
No, because he was over there. You could see the flashlights bouncing around. We went over.
We went out the other way.
No, we didn't. We had to go out that way because we posted ground over there.
Yeah, we went out the long way through that rock that was over our heads.
No, we did not.
in the dark.
Sound like Bill and Ron
Oh
in there.
my. Okay, girls. Anyway.
You know,
Anyway, but we found out one of the other guys shot one. Some of the other deer came barreling down the hill, spooked off the herd of 20 some deer, whatever it was.
we had sat there and watched those deer for an hour with the binos, like 85, 90 yards away, just kind of coming up through the creek line. It's a beautiful day, you know, super sunny. The sun's, just perfect. Perfect.
Fantastic day to drop your bow out of a tree.
Yeah.
Would highly recommend trying that.
Hey, it's
Hey,
better than
Alfred,
having
why
your
don't you buy a
friend
bow
drop out
instead
of
of
the
using
tree.
that
Trust me.
crossbow?
Whenever drop your bow, not your friend. When your friend comes out of the tree, it's a little more exhilarating, especially in the dark when you can't see them. It's not a fun experience.
I'm with you.
So, yeah.
I'm
Drop
with
your
you.
bows,
As
not
long
your
as he's
friends.
not screaming too loud because his back's broken, I'm okay with it. It's gonna
No,
make my
no.
hunting season a lot easier. I can shoot a 6-point now doing so. I'm okay with that.
You hear what he said? He said now that there's no competition, he can shoot a 6-point and just feel like he won the season. If I'm around, there's
I'll
no
tell you
way
what.
he's shooting a 6-point.
I was just watching a hunting show. I'm not sure exactly what it was the other day, but I'm not all about the 6 points. I'm kind of with you guys now. And I think in our older years, we all get a little bit that way. You know, once you get a couple of buck under your belt, you're just more apt to grow. You know, and look for a bigger buck past the littler ones. But this guy shot the 6-point, and I was like, you know what? I would take that. I would take that. He must have had like 15-inch G2s. It seemed like he had like 30 inches of main beam coming out. I was like, that has to be the world's biggest 6-point. His brow tines were huge. A lot of people get wrapped up in how many points you shoot. For me, sometimes the character. It doesn't even got to be the inches. The character. Sometimes that's
Well,
what
and
does it for
that's
me.
the rack of a deer is not necessarily an indicator of how old that deer is, right? Like we want to harvest mature deer, but a deer can be a 6-point. He can be a giant 6-point and not have the biggest rack. Like that's just the way it goes. They hit a certain point, they start going back downhill. You know, Tony's got a great deer on the wall here.
I think this deer is probably 7 or 8 years old.
He's
We can
all
only see-
mangled up. He's got scars from fighting. He's all gray all
Can
over
only
the
kind of
place.
see
But
half
he's
of it.
like-
beat up
That's a
deer.
good indicator.
Oh, there
When
we
we get
go.
that gray, like real dark brown or gray up here, you know. And
Look at the gray down here
check
in the
their teeth.
shoulders. Like, yeah, he's and
It's
the
a little
amount
hard
of
to tell over
scarring
here,
on
but
him.
I
It's
see it.
just, and he doesn't have that big muscular football head like this one over here does. Like
Yeah.
he's just, I think that deer was solid on the decline.
I had somebody years ago. This is before I even knew what hunting was all about. He told me he found. I thought he was lying out his butt. He said I found a 32-inch spike. He said there's no such thing. That's an elk. You know, there's no such thing like that. He went home. He brought this back. Sure enough, and it wasn't really exactly a spike. It was a main beam. You know, it had curve to it, but it had nothing up there but little bumps where it wanted to grow his, his 1 and his 2s and his 3s. And I said, I'll bet you that was an old deer on his way back, and he just couldn't grow that. I've heard of this thing. You know, I'm not a biologist. I don't know, but I have to.
I've seen one like that.
They call it reverting, and
Yeah.
I have to agree with that. Yeah.
A guy I worked with a couple of years ago, he had one that was a 4-point, and it come out, and it was just main beams, and they come out real swept, and then at the end they fork. Probably 25, 26 inches main beams, and just one of the biggest spreads I've ever seen on a Pennsylvania buck. Probably like 28 inches, like it's just ridiculous. But it was a 4-point. No other junk on it, and not not super. There's not a lot of mass to it. It's kind of skin, like but it's just weird. Sometimes you'll see some weird stuff. Like Alfred, every time he goes to the woods, he sees a bobcat. That's weird.
Oh man, I love seeing
I go to the woods,
bobcats. You don't see a whole lot
I
of
see
them.
them all
When you
the
do, it's
time.
almost majestic. Really?
You don't see a whole lot of them. Speak for
Well, I
yourself,
do
man.
now.
I
We
just,
have
I
one
just
down
saw
at
one
work.
last week going up over gold mine, man. It's crazy. They
No,
they
we
called
actually-
me. I don't like it.
it's an eerie sound, ain't it? No, we have one at work. It's twice we've seen it. It's a little baby. I've actually never really seen a baby bobcat. And I swear the thing's only like that big, maybe the size of a large rabbit at this point. And I actually thought it was just a feral cat until we realized it just had the little nub for a tail. Oh my god, it's hunting the neighbor's rabbits, I guess, or whatever that's in there. Look at this guy; he's cold.
We saw that fawn this morning. It scared the crap out of me.
What the-
I thought it was another snake because we've been seeing a bunch of timber rattlers this year so far.
That's crazy. I've yet to see one.
Why didn't you even tell him?
It was an interesting morning. Oh, we walked down the trail at the normal fishing hole, and it takes a while to get down there to the creek. We got about 3/4 of the way down, and I had a stick in front of me just tapping the ground, so I didn't step on any snakes. And I walked up on a baby fawn. Couldn't have been more than 3 feet away from me.
For an old guy, he's got some good
and when-
vertical leap.
Yeah, when she got up and ran, scared the crap out. I didn't know what it was.
He
You didn't get any
jumped
video
up,
of it?
Oh, I
No.
wish. No, I wish I would have had my GoPro because he jumped up and spun around. What do they call it? A pirouette. He looked like a pirouette.
Another one of those moments I didn't have the
Should I
camera
do the
going.
rag thing?
Story of my life.
Yeah, do
Very
it.
nice.
Do the what thing?
Huh? Go ahead. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's good.
No, we're
Just
going.
story of my life, man. The camera wasn't rolling this morning.
Yeah, with some
We were over
interesting
here
stuff.
whispering in each other's ears. Can you get that curtain one more time? It's the light's fading, and we're
Get the curtain. The
we're
lights
dealing
fading.
with natural light. Yeah, we're dealing with natural light and everything else. Oh, that's perfect, Alfred. Anyway, who else is on? We haven't had a whole lot of interaction from the crowd tonight, which is kind of deeply upsetting. Outdoor with Shive, you still on? Hey, listen,
Oh,
we
shy.
talk about getting up in the bush and going someplace where nobody else is at. Look, I'd love to take you up on the pain train sometime and just let you see what it looks like. It's probably real familiar territory if you hunt West Virginia. I hunted in Virginia, the George Washington National Forest, a couple times, and I know what you can get into, man. You could be out. You could be at 2,800 feet, middle of nowhere, 5 miles from the truck, and I have not shot deer that look like this just because I had no way to get it. There's just no way I'd get them out of there. There's a lot of times where I'm in a spot where I just there's no way I can't do it. I'm not going to get involved in it if I can't get it done. So
There's spots like that I'd like to take this guy to, and to be honest,
yeah,
one
but
of
he's
our
too old.
spots. Well, it ain't getting any easier. I'll tell you that. Even the spots that I like to get to, I have to contemplate. And just fishing today really made me think. You're not getting any easier. The deer carts and all that's really starting to look a little bit better. I like to do
Well,
it traditional. I like to do it Fitzgerald kind of way and just be the gruntly man about it. All I do as much as I can. I have no problem dragging a deer 4 or 5 miles. I've done it, but it's getting real hard if you don't have some good help today. Even for two guys like us to drag a deer 4 miles, that'd be an adventure. It really would.
We won't have to worry about that too much this year. We got some good young gentlemen right here that are going to give us a hand this year.
Like Shive's telling us, he's telling us to get a cart. So I guess we should get a cart. Or we could just call Shive. He's a bull. Just every time we get, I told this guy one tree the one time. I was like, "Yeah, I found this oak tree." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's on the third knuckle on the 6th mountain, 5 miles in." I'm like, "Don't tell this guy nothing. He knows every tree around here." I'm surprised he ain't scoping out all the deer. You shoot a deer, he's probably seen it 6 times. That guy.
Yeah, the link that you guys shared.
Oh no.
Yeah. They weren't getting enough views, so they cut it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.